Long story short, I've always loved metal music. I'm
Okay.
still a metalhead. So
Interesting.
when I was a teenager, there were lots of Finnish metal bands that I used to listen, and that's actually how I started learning Finnish language little by little.
Wow.
But metal bands from Finland, Sweden, Germany. So my dream was always to come and live here someday.
Welcome to WITT. Hi, I'm Megan. I talk with founders, investors, and operators working in tech. My aim is to inspire you with their stories and perspectives. Through this podcast, I want to amplify the voice of women working in tech. If you want to support WITT, then make sure you follow us on your favourite podcasting app. Then you won't miss any future episodes. Today's guest is Kim, a marketing powerhouse who's shaped brands from Nordic startups to global energy tech. She's all about smart strategies and making sure all voices get heard. Let's get into it. Hi Kim, welcome to WITT. It's great to have you on the podcast.
Same. Super excited to be here. Looking forward to chat a little bit of everything.
Lovely. Well, I would love to kick off our conversation with a lightning round. Is that okay?
Okay, sure.
Let's dive straight in. So, first question is Costa Rican winter or Finnish summer?
Finnish summer, of course. Like, come on.
Makes sense.
Like, I love Costa Rica, but the winter there is depressing in the sense that, I mean, it's Costa Rica. You obviously wish it was sunny more frequently. But the thing is also that Finnish summer, like, there's nothing like it. So
very true. I totally agree.
yeah.
Second question. What would you say in a Finnish startup founder is one of the strengths and what is a blind spot? Yes.
Okay, like one of the strengths, I would say if you've had the opportunity to work with lots of different people before and you're really good at sales, I think that is such a great position for you to start a company and then naturally not just be a founder, but actually be a leader. You know, the fact that you're really good with people, that's so important. I would say if you're not a flexible person or you shy away from sales, kind of like the opposite, because I do see that those are two very important skills that if you don't have, it's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle for you in the startup journey. So being really good with people and sales, those two.
Makes sense. Third question. What's like one climate initiative that you're really excited about right now?
That is a very good question. A climate initiative that I'm very excited about at the moment. Well, to be honest, I'm very excited about what we are doing at Synergy, but then I also see a lot of like companies, for example, in the concrete space that are doing like less carbon intensive like ways or like methods to actually produce concrete, which as you know is a very carbon consuming material. So there are companies in Finland, for example, like Pebble or even Hyperion Robotics that have developed, for example, the material, but then also technologies to actually produce the structures out of less carbon intensive material. So I love keeping up with that space.
Love it. And then next question. What's like one parenting lesson that directly links to kind of the startup life?
Very good question. I guess so many. I would say managing day-to-day life with children. I think that's something that it's very applicable to startup life. You have to be very good at like project management. What is happening every day? Where do the kids need to be? Are there things coming up in school? It's kind of like you need to keep a pulse on their lives very frequently. So I think if you're a parent, you're definitely, or you develop very good project management skills, which I think can be very applicable to work life, basically.
Makes total sense.
Yes.
What makes the Finnish startup ecosystem uniquely Finnish?
Well, I would say some of the events I've seen in which pitching happens, for example, polar bear pitching in the middle of, I don't know if it's the ocean, but I've been there in Oulu, the polar bear
Yeah, yeah,
pitching.
yeah.
The fact that you pitch your company inside a frozen hole, that's very Finnish. Then I think also the fact that people here like do business over sauna sessions. I think that's
Yeah,
very Finnish also.
I think that is very Finnish. You're totally right.
Yeah, right.
Um,
So yeah,
yeah, definitely.
I,
Okay, and then what would you say is what would you say is harder, like a product launch or a toddler bedtime?
a toddler bedtime for sure. Like, oh, I have stories to tell about toddler bedtime back in the day. But I
Awesome.
mean, product launch, if you've done it before, then it's very like one, two, three, and that's that. But oh, there is a lot of hiccups with
Yeah,
toddlers always.
definitely. And then how do you define balance in your day-to-day life?
How do I define balance? So for me, it's about getting to do the things that I love to do without feeling overly tired to do them. So
Right.
if I don't have energy to actually do what I love, for example, like my garden, I love to do perfumes with essential oil. So if I never have the time to do these things because I'm too tired, that's when I know I'm not in balance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Most important question, I would say, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Ah, the rum and raisins one. I love
Ooh,
it. It's the
okay,
best one.
nice.
Yes. Yes.
And then if you could travel anywhere, where would you go?
Home, my second home. So I would go, if
Okay,
I could do it like right now, I would just go to Costa Rica now. Yes, and see my
lovely.
family.
Awesome. And then the last question for the lightning round is if you had to describe your kind of entrepreneurial journey in three emojis, what would they be and why?
In three emojis, I don't even know all the emoji. So that's a tough one. So maybe I would pick the fire one.
Okay.
That is
Yeah.
fun.
Okay.
Then I would pick the just like the smiley face, like,
Fair.
and then maybe like the angry emoji, because yeah, there's been a lot of
Because just
things.
angry.
Because
So
angry,
fire, smiles,
fire
and
smiles and
anger.
angry. Yes, exactly. That's. I mean, like you mean like fire in the sense that I think like I'm just very passionate about the Finnish startup ecosystem, and this is where I love to be. So I have huge passion for startups and the people in the community. Then the happiness, I would say, just comes from all the different people that actually working in the community has allowed me to meet, because through that I've built like such a powerful network. And then the last one, like anger, because of course like there are a lot of things left to improve in the
Of
ecosystem,
course,
and
of
I've
course.
been at the center of that. So for example, like typical issues such as lack of diversity in like board positions or like leadership positions, the lack of
Hmm.
funding going to companies founded by diverse founders. So a lot of things that I wouldn't say is like total anger, but it's just like
Yeah,
annoying. Yes.
totally.
Yes.
Well, that was really awesome. Thank you for answering my lightning round questions. And let's
Great.
now move on to your journey, right? So
Yes.
you are, as you said, from Costa Rica, but you now live in Finland. Now, the obvious question is obviously why Finland, and has it lived up to your expectations?
Yes. So, long story short, I've always loved metal music. I'm
Okay,
still a metalhead. So
interesting.
when I was a teenager, there were lots of Finnish metal bands that I used to listen, and that's actually how I started learning Finnish language little by little.
Wow,
But yeah, like metal bands from Finland, Sweden, Germany. So my dream was always to come and live here someday, and just really, I don't know, because I mean some metal bands are very depressing. So I was like, oh, I just want to be there, I
right.
want to see where people like get this inspiration and actually be
Yeah,
in the environment where this happens. So I actually ended up going to Germany 1 year.
okay.
I worked there as an au pair, and I met like my daughter's dad, and one thing led to the other. And to keep it short, I ended up, moving to Finland and actually living my dream of
That's so
um,
cool.
coming here and living and, starting my own family and working and like studying. So like
Yeah.
everything, like I've basically like built my whole adulthood in Finland.
Yeah.
And yes, it has lived to my expectations. To be honest, I've been in very lucky positions, but I think it has been because I've managed to be in environments that really enhance my strengths,
Yeah.
So all of my jobs have been within startups, tech companies, and those are like very niche and like specific communities. So I think it's just I've been in the right environments at the right time. Um, so Finland has definitely lived up to my expectations. I think, like, as a professional, I've been able to flourish because of that,
Yeah.
of the opportunities that I've been able to find in tech. And then when it comes to family life, the same. Like, it's been so good to, well, grow my family here. I love the education system. I love nature. I love Finnish design. I love having four seasons, as a person coming from a country where it's either hot or rainy or a mix of both. It's so special to have the four seasons.
Yeah.
It's so special to, in the spring, see how everything is growing again,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that this is the gardening season and summer is coming. So yeah, it has lived up to my expectations. It has exceeded my expectations.
But yeah, no, I totally understand. Finland, lovely place, and I can see that you've really enjoyed your time here, which is lovely.
Yes, I
Um,
have.
so let's turn on to a little bit of more career focused, orientated. As you said, you've worked in quite a lot of kind of early stage Finnish startups, and give me some examples. What are the unique challenges and advantages the founders kind of face in this ecosystem compared to other parts of the world?
Yep. Love this question because I actually had the
Great.
chance to work in the ecosystem for like around 4 years when I worked at Maria 01. And I think many of these challenges that we saw as, like community leaders still apply. And they were usually like boiling down to like internationalization,
Yeah.
funding, and then finding the right talent. And those are like connected to each other because, of course, finding talent is so important because if you
Yeah.
actually find people who've been there done that, then you obviously start doing like better jobs already from
Of
the
course.
get-go, and actually bringing a lot of like boldness to, let's say, how marketing should be done on not just like a local scale, but actually if you want to go outside of Finland, like you need to be like
Mm-hmm.
really bold and creative. And I think like
Totally.
that is definitely a challenge. Then obviously if we want to bring like more specific like tech talent, focused on what are like the big trends, for example, like AI, there's not a lot of that in the country. So like this is still like a huge bottleneck that obviously can be solved by making it much easier for people to
Mm-hmm.
come here, and that is tied to internationalization, just having like more international talent that can come and kind of like bring that polish to
Yeah,
how
totally.
you build businesses and like that ambition. And then the other one was like access to funding. I think, I mean, we have like really good success stories like Supercell, Rovio,
Yeah,
Volt.
of course, of
Most
course.
recently, Linear, actually, that they
Yeah,
became like the next Finnish unicorn just yesterday. But I
lovely.
think like finding like the bigger chunks of money, that's still a
Mm-hmm.
big challenge for companies because we are competing with the rest of the world on like ambition, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
I
yes,
think
yes,
that
yes.
that is still like a big challenge. But to be honest, now when we talk about what makes the ecosystem unique or like what are the advantages, I think that Finland and the Nordics have very good communities, like
Of
where to
course.
actually like
Yes,
get help,
definitely.
peer support. Then we also have like super good grassroots movement, kind of like how things started in Finland. I think it is so inspiring for a lot of people nowadays to actually start companies, and the fact that it is now a viable career for a lot of like university graduates. Um, so I
Totally.
think we do have the environment to start companies. I just think it's the challenges are more about like scaling companies to be
The
like
the
uh,
people.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. The people and kind of like the ambition. I think we are like, because I've had the opportunity to work in Finnish companies with, let's say, clients in the US and in different parts of the globe. And I must say, like, it's kind of like the ambition is very different. Like on
definitely.
in the US, for example, in America, it's a completely different thing. So I'm not saying like we need to be like them, but it's just
No, of
like
course not.
food for thought.
Yeah.
We have to be more like go-getters, and we have to be bold, and we have to take like bigger risks,
Mm,
especially in our
definitely.
marketing, to be honest.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Definitely summed it up pretty well. The kind of the need for more ambition in just generally Finnish people,
Yeah.
and then the kind of investment side of things. So yeah,
Yeah,
I really
exactly.
loved that. That was awesome. Let's talk a little bit about kind of climate tech. So as we all kind of know, it's rapidly growing kind of critical sector. So from your experience, what is the kind of the biggest communication hurdles that startups face in this space when trying to convey those kind of complicated scientific concepts or like graphs and things like
Yeah.
that? How do we kind of tackle this?
Yeah, very good question. Actually, there is very good research about this, and it is a fact that from the consumer side, most climate terminologies are complex to understand. So, for example, words such as like mitigation or carbon emissions,
Yeah, yep.
things like that, like they tend to be like very vague when you talk
Hmm.
about this to the consumer, unless they are like deep into it.
Of course, yeah.
So, I mean, very practically, at Synergy, because we do deal with some of these terminologies, what I started doing from the very early stages is that, for example, if you have marketing and comms people on board, I think you have to actually focus on testing a lot of your messaging. So, actually, we do reach out to our own users.
Hmm.
Before we're even launching a new feature, like, hey, take a look at our landing page. Do you
Yeah.
get what we are
You
explaining to
understand? Yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, do you understand? Do you get it? So that is one thing, kind of like, of course, putting things out there is part of the testing, but I would say that if you have already a user base, just like test your messaging, ask people like, do you actually understand what we mean here? Then another very powerful tool is to just use analogies.
Hmm.
So if you're
Yep.
talking, for example, from Synergy's point of view, if we talk about the amount of like gigawatts that we have powered through one of our features, like
Hmm.
making it fun, like, okay, that is equivalent to X amount of sauna sessions in Finland. So
Right,
then you
right, right,
kind of
right, right.
have a vision of like
Visualize
how
it.
big or
Yes.
how little. Yes,
Hmm.
exactly. And then last but not least, I think it is so important that you tweak the messaging according to your audience or
Of course.
stakeholder. So for example, like at Synergy, we do have like very different descriptions of what we do for our investors, for journalists, for consumers. And you need to think about this every single time. How do you
Yeah.
like either complicate the level of definition, or then simplify it so that, for
Hmm.
example, the investors kind of like get the most like trending terminologies,
Hmm.
and kind of like that you speak their lingo, right? And then
Yeah.
for consumers, it's just about like strip it down, strip it down, strip it down. So we
Simple
do
as
that a lot.
possible. Yes.
Yes, exactly. So those three things, like test your messaging, use analogies, and tailor the message as much as possible to the
Yes.
audience.
Yeah. Yeah. Because as you said, it's such a important sector in today's landscape, and I feel like those kind of 3 points really convey it a lot easier to either the consumer, the investor, the whoever. But yeah, no, I really love that. Um, let's talk a little bit about what the role you think storytelling plays in shaping the future, again, in climate tech innovation. So,
Yep.
how can startups harness that authentic narrative to not only attract investment, because as we know, it's quite a difficult industry to get investment from, but also kind of inspire the broader society of change?
Yeah. I think, to be honest, like, of course, storytelling is extremely important, but I think in this era of climate,
Hmm.
like conflicts and challenges, I just think it's so important to like ground it to people and data.
Of course.
So at Synergy, we've been working a lot with that kind of like, what is the impact of what we are doing on people, and do we have the data to prove it? So if you already show people like you and me and how they are benefiting from something, I think that's already like a very powerful tool to
Yeah.
actually like, show people like you and me benefiting from X, Y, and Z, right?
Hmm.
So I think like always focusing on people and data is like extremely important. Like I think it is as simple as that. And then obviously, like when it comes to authenticity and when starting a company, for example, it's a lot about the founder's journey. Like, why did they want to start this
The
company? What
story.
were the problems
Yeah.
that they wanted to solve? So yeah, maybe those three elements, kind of like the company story, founding story, people, and then data. So like those three pillars are very important to build like a good cohesive like narratives that make people be invested in what you're doing.
I like it. Very simple, very easy, easy to understand as well. But let's talk a little bit about like startups, right? So we're talking a lot about startups, but let's talk a little bit more about them. So often startups talk about internal before talking internal. So how do you approach internal comms and community building as a foundation for a strong and authentic kind of message and startup culture?
Yeah. Great question. So I would say that it all boils down to what kind of company the founders want to
Of
build.
course, of
So
course.
this last company that I joined, I was the fifth employee. And to be honest, I think like you have to care
Of
about
course,
what kind of
yes.
company you want to build for your employees. A lot of startups actually don't pay attention to that. It's more like about the product. But I think if you start from the people and actually enabling them to
Hmm.
make decisions and to be involved in critical aspects of company building, such as like taking part in like formulating the strategy, like the quarterly targets, the company values, ways of working. Like everyone in our company since day one have taken part in this. And naturally, not it's not like saying like, hey, it is a democracy, but what's important is that that's where leadership plays a part. It is about actually like listening to people and what they want, and then sort of like giving everyone the chance to chip in, and then founders making decisions over what they feel should move forward and not. And then, for example, from my point of view in marketing and comms, like of course a lot of these things happen internally, but what I then have to do is then just to think about like what are the areas of how we are building this company that we actually want to tell the world, like, hey, this is what we're doing. Because I think from very early stages, it is important that you start building the perception around your company, like what kind of like environment for the employees are you. So thinking a little bit about how this also connects to employer branding, like what we're doing and how we're building, and then the parts that we want to show that we know might resonate with other people finding environments like ours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Makes total sense. I totally what you're saying. Let's go back to parenting, right? So obviously, you're working in a leadership role in a fast-paced kind of tech world with parenting must bring some kind of unique challenges, right? I say unique, but kind of difficult challenges. Um, how has becoming a parent shifted your approach to work and kind of prioritizing and managing your time?
Yeah. So I would say when I was in my 20s, so I had my daughter at 23. So I think that there was at that point in time like a lot of guilt, like, okay, I need to get a job because, I need to pay bills. So I think I was prioritizing a lot, like just being there, present at work against all odds.
Mm-hmm.
But then I would say, like, as I have gotten older, I think, like, well, lack of energy creeps in, and the fact that, kids, as they grow older, they need you in different ways, in ways that, for example, for us, for women, they tend to be a lot more like mental and emotional. So you do have to be careful with how much you go all in at work, and the fact that over time you start to realize, when you see, your child struggling with something, that okay, like this is important for me to be here, and I have to prioritize like this family time, these appointments, and just hope that work would be like understanding and flexible enough to let you roll with it. And that has also been part of my own like superpower, that I've always like tried to aim for companies that allow me that flexibility. But I think like nowadays, like it is a little bit easier to parent because companies allow more flexibility. So I would say that's how I've managed with everything, like going for companies that allow me for flexibility, and then just like making it clear that family is important and it
Of
comes
course.
first, and
Yeah.
not willing to die or get a burnout for no job, to be honest. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Prioritizing your time and kind of your children over your work.
Yeah,
Definitely.
exactly.
Definitely.
And I think I could also mention that because I wrote about this on my LinkedIn not long ago, that of course parenting is hard, but I think also in work life there is this like thinking that, oh, just because they are parents they must be like suffering and it must be so hard. But the thing is that everyone has their struggles, whether you're a parent or not. Like people have other responsibilities outside of work,
Yeah.
just because I'm a parent, I don't like require like any pity or accommodating. It's more like, if you don't give it to me, then I'm going to go to a place that actually like
Yeah,
allows me
yeah,
the
yeah.
flexibility. But it's more like, yeah, we all have our stuff, and as parents we also learn to get better, at managing our work life over time. It's not like, you give birth to a child and then you're perfect at everything, but like you actually like learn on the go.
Yeah,
So
totally.
it's not like a impossible or like totally unique situation to parent and be a like work full time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, let's now dig into your frameworks, right? Let's talk a little bit about like the start in PR in the early
Mhm.
stage and using company data for thought and leadership and growth. Let's expand on that. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I think that, well, regarding to my experience, it is very important because, of course, PR, media relations, is a way for you to, in the very early stages, to like test your messaging, kind of like what resonates to the larger group of people.
Yeah.
And then of course, it evolves over time. But what's important is that you kind of like understand what are the pillars of information that you can like actually expand on, even
Yeah.
from the very early stages. So as I mentioned before, for us it has been about people and data. So users of our product, like how they benefit, how they are saving, what kind of setup, energy saving setups they have at home. So then you think about what narratives can we actually like expand on and tell this kind of story to the media, which is usually interested in people's stories, because then this is what readers are interested into as well. So then always thinking a lot about like the impact of the product on people. So that is like one narrative that it's important for you to start exploring. And then like the credibility at the early stage also comes from the data, as I mentioned, kind of
Yes.
like
People
how
and the
does this
data.
actually, yes, works in practice. And actually I've been because a lot of people like reach out also for advice, and they ask like, what data, like, won't I get in trouble if I share data? And I'm like, well, yes and no. Like, of course we have to be a little bit careful about what kind of data we are talking about, but for example, there are safe ways to share data about how people are using your product, and anonymized data, for example, focusing on like a segment of users that share similarities, and then how you package, that data. So I've had those experiences now in my previous company and now this one. So like understanding how a group of people are using the product and how you position that in terms of what's happening everywhere else in the industry. So my previous company, we have a lot of usage data from how Gen Z were using our tools. And suddenly Gen Z was everywhere in the media. So then it's kind of like how you use that data to actually like prove a point. And then at Synergy, same thing. Like, how much are people actually saving? Not just like one, but actually like a handful of users, because then that is credible. So then learning how to package that, whether it is in the form of, for example, like owned media. So creating a report and then like extracting the key insights and using that to pitch that to the press, and then getting featured in the media. Like, these things are really great from the early stages. So you have to start like thinking, what are the things that actually I can say that can help
Yeah.
us like prove a point and make ourselves credible.
Yeah, no, totally makes a lot of sense. I feel like that's a lot of great advice for someone who wants to really kind of put across their message.
Yeah,
It's really
exactly,
nice. I love that.
exactly.
Now we've entered the part of the podcast which I like to call the zigzag zone. So I want to know where you're zagging and everyone else is zigging. So you said in your prep questions that not everything in marketing needs to scale. Expand on that for me.
Yes, well, I mean, I guess that ideally everything should scale so that you can save on so many different areas in your company, like time and budgets and so on and so forth. But I would say some of the most fundamental things in marketing are not meant to scale. For example, like
Mm-hmm.
brand and like community. So brand thinking from the perspective that it is so important that you actually, show up to the word like generally you and consistent. So thinking a lot about like how do you look like, how do you sound like, and where do you want to show up. So these are kind of like the foundational like aspects of your company, how you present yourself to the world. And these are not things that you necessarily would change like every 1 or 2 years, but you just have to kind of like have that package like ready built, and it has to be consistent, and you have to talk about it and show in that specific way like over and over again to build repetition and that kind of awareness that really helps people remember you. And then, I notice like at Synergy, for example, we are so like involved in the trenches with our customers,
Yeah.
engaging in different Facebook groups, like making, these kinds of events that we know are not scalable for us in the long term, but it is so important to have a lot of like user time. Like there's
Engagement.
yeah, exactly, there's
Yeah.
just like no shortcut for any of these. And I think like some of the most successful companies like out there, they still do this. You need to have like customer time where you
Mm-hmm.
actually like sit
Mm-hmm.
with them, where you actually like do things not just to like acquire new users, but to actually like nurture the relationships that you have.
Totally.
These things are not really like scalable, and they take a lot of time, but you just
Mm-hmm.
have to like be smart how you utilize them.
Yeah.
But they need to happen because they help actually build the brand.
Definitely. Well, that was really cool. And now we've entered the kind of the story time portion of the podcast. So I want to know what happened with you singing karaoke in front of 2,000 people in Helsinki. What happened there? What happened there?
Well, back in the day, 2017, 18, there's still this company called Singa.
Mm-hmm.
They have like a karaoke platform, and some of the events that they did were these, like karaoke sessions there downtown in Helsinki next to the Musiikkitalo, the music
Mm-hmm.
hall.
Yep.
There would be this huge screen, so then people would gather and then you could sing karaoke. And well, my colleagues, people around me knew that I love karaoke. And then a friend of mine asked me, like, hey, do you want to actually do this promo video of you like going there and actually singing? So then
Uh-huh.
I actually just did it. I sang a song from Shania Twain. Uh, I can't remember the name at the moment, but one of her most popular songs. And yeah, then I just did it. And actually, the video is up still on their YouTube account. But yeah.
That's so cool. 2,000 people is pretty crazy. Very, very interesting. I loved your story. That was super cool. Well, sadly,
Yes.
we're coming to the end of the podcast, but I do have 3 final questions for you. Imagine it's 2035, so in 10 years' time. What does your life look like? What does your career look like?
Big question.
Indeed.
Very big question. To be honest, how my career looks like is that I really want to be involved in things that help make the world a better place. That sounds just like very like
Yeah,
whatever,
very
but
cheesy, but
very
true.
cheesy, but like yeah. And then I want to use my skills for good, and I also want to help companies like utilize the power of like PR a lot more, because I think it is
Hmm.
such an important tool to
Definitely.
raise awareness around your company and acquire new customers. So I kind of, want to spread the gospel more around these things. And yeah, I see myself, doing big campaigns globally, helping my current company grow outside of Finland, and yeah, helping us do big things for our customers and the environment and our investors. So yeah, and I guess family life, I'm confident that we'll be raising a good citizen for the world, so that's always important.
Yeah, good goals, I think.
Yes.
And then, second question, how can listeners follow along with your journey?
Well, I am very active on LinkedIn, and yeah, I would say like just add me there, send me a message why you want to connect. And I love going for lunches and meeting new people. So invite me for lunch and we'll have a chat.
Lovely. And then the last question. So, how can listeners be useful to you? So, what can they do to help you?
What can they do to help me? Feedback is always welcome. I don't know if you follow our company, follow me, and there's something you think we should be doing better. Nothing better than getting feedback.
Definitely.
Yes.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for being on my podcast. I'm really looking forward to following along with your journey and, of course, Synergy's journey as well.
Thank you. This was great. Bye bye.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. To make sure you don't miss next week's episode, follow us on your favourite podcasting app. Do consider leaving us a review, as it helps the podcast tremendously.